Hi guys, we're gonna do pumpkin today. My trusty cameraman is Paul behind the lens. And I have the pumpkin recipe on my Kindle right here in the kitchen with me, and I'm sure you guys could do the same. We had the acorn squash whole. I split it in half, cut them into wedges, and peeled it. I saved one to show you how to do it. You just basically use a vegetable peeler and get the peel removed. I'm a lefty, as you can see. It's not that difficult. If the peel goes everywhere, that's okay. We can clean up later. Basically, that's how you remove the peel. So now I'll get rid of all this. So, if you would like, you could choose to use like a hand grater, but it's going to take forever. So, I use my food processor. Make sure it has the grating disc attached. And I normally open it up. And of course you have to make sure they fit in there. If they don't, you just cut them down. Put the pieces in there. This is Nicholas's favorite part.
What?
You ready to see it, Nicholas? Well, there are 3 little pieces here and there, but I'm going to grate the rest and I'll be right back. So now the pot has the oil and I'm adding the crushed red pepper and the garlic. I'll let that cook around for a little while. And then at this point we add the shredded acorn squash that we just grated. And you stir that around. Then I toss in those spices, the cumin, thyme, and saffron. And just keep stirring it around until everything's coated. If you see it's starting to stick, you can add some more oil. Just a little bit. Once that's coated, I'm going to add some salt and pepper. In your recipe, you know I said salt and pepper to taste. I'm just going to let that saute for a little while. And then cover it with water. The acorn squash typically gives out its own liquids, so I don't put too much water, just in case. You put the lid on it, and you let it simmer until it's tender. We'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to move on to the roti. So I've used the ingredients that are listed here: the flour, baking powder, salt, sugar, and oil, and warm water. Combined it and formed the dough. At this stage, I'm going to divide the dough into 4 pieces so we can start rolling them out. So I just, do it center first, and then the center of each one of these. So we end up with 4 pieces. Set those aside. And you just sprinkle a little bit of flour down. I just do it on the countertop, but if you have a cutting board you would like to use or whatever, you can. I'm just going to flour each side and just squeeze and rotate. In the recipe I mentioned that you can take the ball and just fold it over on itself until it's smooth. And this is what I meant by that. If you wanted to do it ahead of time. But I got excited and went ahead and made the circle first. So, just pretend we did that first and now we're doing this. And then you put a little bit of flour on your rolling pin. This is a French rolling pin. I like this kind because of the tapered edges. And you just start rolling it out. You can go from the center out. I just kind of tend to go back and forth. The correct way is center out. This is the way my mom does it, so this is the way I do it. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, as long as it's not a triangle. So, you don't want it to be too thin to where you can see through it. So you're looking like about 1/8 of an inch. And that's the size we're looking for. And I'll roll out the rest. We'll be right back. Now that the dough is all rolled out, I'm going to put butter on one side. Because we're getting ready to put it in a hot skillet. Hi, Nicholas. What you doing? We're going to wait until it bubbles up a little bit on the underside. And then I'll brush butter on top and flip it. Usually takes a couple minutes. Okay, buddy, just a second. And keep checking on it, because sometimes if the pan's really hot, it'll take less than a couple minutes. See the bubbles? That's what you're looking for. Use a spatula and flip it over. Let it go for another 1.5 minutes. And then it would look like this once it's done. And that's my version of roti. So while we're waiting for the roti to get brown on that other side, we can check on the pumpkin. You can see that most of the water is dried up. It still looks a little firm to me, so I'm going to add more water. You want the consistency to be where when you stir it, it breaks apart really easily. Because the end result we're looking for is something like a thick applesauce. But it's getting there. It's been about 20 minutes now. It usually takes between 20 to 30 minutes depending on how ripe the squash is to begin with. We're almost ready to eat, guys. Yes, it's a very funny day. And we're going to take the lid off now. And see how it's starting to break down. That's what you're looking for. While we were gone, I chose to add a couple teaspoons of brown sugar and some cilantro flakes because I like cilantro. The sugar is optional. It depends on the ripeness of the acorn squash. Sometimes if the color on the skin is more green than orange, you want to add some sugar to give it a little sweetness. If not, it's totally orange, then you don't need the sugar. So I got my whisk, and we're going to start whisking it so that it can form a thicker puree. Sometimes I use the cake mixer with the whisk beaters, but because it's a hot ingredient, you could burn yourself. And I've done so a couple times. So I figure everyone has a whisk. That's the best utensil. That's what you're looking for. At this point, we could turn the heat off. And be sure to keep tasting your food. If you want it a little more spicy, you can add hot sauce or more crushed pepper flakes. More salt, add more salt. But that's it. That's pumpkin and roti. And I'll post a picture of what it's supposed to look like at the end. Thanks for watching. Okay. Put the lid on and then, well, having technical difficulties. Well, okay, start over. Hi guys, welcome to the kitchen. Today we're making. Today we're gonna do pumpkin. What happened to the countdown?